So as you guys may know, it's still Pride Month. And actually, the more I think about it, I have a crazy story to tell you guys. But before I get into it, please don't cancel me. You gotta understand, this was back when, well, I guess bullying was considered good. And on top of that, honestly, this story does get really intense. So I suggest you guys leave a like and subscribe. And to all the people a part of the LGBTQ watching this video, please watch the video through before you guys make an opinion on me. But anyways, let's just jump straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story takes place back in my grade 9 year. Now, I'm not gonna lie, in grade 9, I looked like this. So obviously, I wasn't the slayer that I was supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, I still did a lot of the devil's tango, but not as much as I did in grade 10. Going on though, I remember in grade 9, I decided to take a course called drama. Now, drama is a course where it's basically theater, where basically you learn how to basically act in a way. I don't know how else to explain it other than me trying to act wasn't the coolest thing to see. But the main reason why I actually took it was because I had a really bad stutter back when I was in high school. And me having a stutter back in high school wasn't a good thing because how else am I supposed to pull girls? I don't want to go all phase adapt on them. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember basically one time in drama, we were doing this exercise where we had to read out a very long script. And me, well, with my stutter, it makes me a lot worse than how I'm actually supposed to. I can read, but not that well with the stutter. So I remember I went up in front of the stage and I started basically talking. I started basically reading it out, but in some parts, I would randomly just have a stutter. And knowing this, I remember I saw some girls laughing, but then afterwards, there was one dude in my class that kept laughing at me for some reason. And he kept laughing to the point where he actually ended up saying, "Dude, you suck at reading." I remember when he said that, I kind of just froze and just got really awkward. I didn't know what to say and I didn't know why this dude was picking on me, literally back off. But honestly, I guess he was just trying to get everyone's attention and be the class clown. And that's one thing I realized over the weeks of me going to class. The same guy would always, and I mean always, try to get attention from everyone. And it was so weird because he would walk in with the most weirdest outfits as if he was Lady Gaga. I don't know what this dude's problem was, but in my mind, he was just being super weird and really toxic. I remember as weeks went on, we had this school play that was coming up. And obviously, the school play, everyone wants to be the main character, except me. I remember I didn't want to do it. And the play was Peter Pan, by the way, if you guys really want to know. And I remember I did not want to be Peter Pan. But obviously, don't get me wrong, a lot of people thought it would be funny for me to be Peter Pan because I was the most youthful looking. I don't know, look at me and tell me if I should be Peter Pan. In my opinion, I shouldn't be. And I remember my teacher ended up walking up to me in the middle of class and saying, "Oh, Bubba, I was wondering, do you want to be Peter Pan for this play? The whole class thinks it's a good idea for you to be." For me to be Peter Pan is what I told her after. "Yeah, I think you should be Peter Pan." I'm good, thanks, is what I ended up saying. And I remember I ended up walking away and my teacher, she was disappointed. So what she decided to do next was pull the whole class together, basically making a class meeting with me standing in the middle and basically said, "Everyone, I think Bubba should be Peter Pan and I need a raise of hands for everyone that agrees." I remember at that moment, since the teacher ended up saying something, the whole class ended up putting their hand up for me to be Peter Pan. And me, I was super embarrassed. But then obviously the one dude in my class realized that I was getting a lot of attention after the vote was done. And I remember when the vote was basically over, all the students in my class ended up walking up to me saying how I should, prepare myself, how it's gonna be super fun. And honestly, it felt good to have a lot of attention. But honestly, when I saw this dude looking at me, I remember he walked up to me saying, "You're gonna be Peter Pan? You can't even freaking speak. You're such a loser." "Dude, what's your problem?" is what I told him afterwards. And he basically kept telling me, "What do you mean what's my problem? You're just a dumbass." Whoa, dude, seriously, grow up, is what I told him. But obviously he wasn't having it and he just kept messing with me. And it got to the point where he actually got physical with me and pushed me on the ground. Now at this point, I'm not gonna lie, I have anger issues. I mentioned this in my other video. I don't like getting upset really easily, but I have that issue. So I remember when I stood back up, I remember I ended up pushing this guy on the ground and he ended up saying, "For a boy, you're really weak." And that's when I ended up getting on top of him and started punching him out. I'm not joking. I started punching his face over and over and over and over. And the teacher was out of the classroom for some reason, so I just kept going at it as all these guys were just looking at me thinking that this dude is batshit crazy. But anyways, I kept punching him and then one thing led to another. I remember there was a girl in my class who was a part of the LGBTQ club. She walked up to me saying, "Bubba, what are you doing? You would never hurt a girl." "What?" is what I said. "A girl? Where's the girl in this situation. And then I remember when I looked down, this guy was like, actually, I identify as a girl. No, you don't, is what I said. And then afterwards, let's just say I got a lot of drama happening in my class because, well, a lot of people in the class apparently was convinced he was a girl when it was very, very obvious that it was a dude. Like, I'm sorry, okay? If you sound like a man, look like a man, and have the genes of a man, you're probably a dude. And I'm not gonna lie, once again, this was back in grade 9, so don't, cancel me for this, but that was just my thought process back when I was younger. Anyways, after the whole situation happened, I remember I started panicking and thinking, why in the world does my whole class think this person's a girl? And then that's when I realized. He ended up basically saying, actually, I am a girl. I'm a transgender. You're a what? A transgender is what he said once again. And I wasn't convinced. I remember what I ended up doing was I ended up saying, wait, so you have a vagina. Is that what you're saying? No, I don't have one of those, but that doesn't define who I am. I mean, do you have tits? Is what I ended up saying afterwards. That doesn't identify who I am, is what he said once again. And I remember me back in grade 9, well, I was really hard-headed. So I remember I ended up basically right afterwards, when he said that he didn't have either of those things, I ended up walking up to him and saying, then you're a dude. And it ended up walking away. When I said that, I remember my teacher just ended up walking back into the classroom. And right away, right as I said that, this dude that was really upset at me, claiming he was a transgender, ran up to me and punched me in the back of the head. Obviously, we both got in trouble. We ended up going back to the office. And when we went back to the office, I remember I ended up getting in trouble for basically hitting a girl. I remember my parents ended up getting a phone call, and I was like really shook because there was no way that they were going to tell my parents I hit a girl. But they ended up doing that, and my parents ended up coming to the school, and I got in serious trouble. My parents ended up walking into the office saying, Baba, why did you hit a girl? What? You would never hit a girl. Because I live with 4 sisters. So obviously me hitting a girl was really not the case ever. I was raised not to do that. But then afterwards, I remember my dad walked in really upset and he said, Baba, where's the girl you hit? I ended up pointing at the dude that was sitting on the chair. And then that's when both my parents looked at me and started laughing. They said, no, seriously, where's the girl you hit? Mom, Dad, that's the girl apparently, is what I said afterwards. And then one thing led to another. Basically, my principal ended up explaining what a transgender was to my parents. And my parents are really strict and religious. So you already know my parents weren't going to be convinced. And one thing led to another. My parents ended up taking me out for ice cream. Yeah, I know. I am cool enough to go out for ice cream after beating someone up. But that was basically me back in high school bringing up a transgender. You gotta understand, back then things were very different. The LGBTQ stuff wasn't really in my mind. And to be honest, I wasn't educated on it. Obviously nowadays, I guess things are different, but cancel me if you want. All I'm gonna say is this was back in grade 9. And I'm 22 now, so come on, like, you guys can kind of calculate what's going on here. But I mean, if you guys do have any more questions about this story or want to know more, make sure you guys join me live on Kick streaming and telling these crazy stories face to face. Anyways, like I always say, just fall for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.